Congratulations for making it to Pillar 4. You should be so proud of yourself. You are well on your way to becoming more aware and to healing your pelvic floor. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. Today's pillar is movement. So we are going to be moving. I have designed this to be accessible for beginners and people of all sorts of different ages and abilities. So know that you can always do this sitting down in a chair and sitting on the floor. I'm going to be standing up today, and I encourage you to also stand up if that's available for you. So we first need to start by opening up the spine just like we did yesterday. That's very important. So I want you to find a nice, comfortable, stable stance, feet about hips width distance, maybe even slightly wider. Have a gentle bend in the knees and gentle bounces in the knees to shake out any tension you're holding onto in the arms, the shoulders, and the neck. Gentle bounces to soften, and then begin to sway from side to side, letting the arms be heavy. And just let them kind of swing and flap however they might. You might even make them bigger and begin to swivel on the toes of the opposite foot. And just do this, noticing how the spine feels. We have muscles that connect to our spine, that weave down into the pelvis and attach to the pelvis and the thigh bone, the femur. So really, like I said, everything is connected. And we have to take a look at the whole body and a holistic, integrative approach when it comes to caring for the pelvic floor. Begin to make these a little bit softer and slower. And we'll come into some hip circles. And if you're sitting down, just make shoulder circles, barrel rolls like we did yesterday. But if you're standing up, I want you to either put your hands on your hips if you have this space in your upper body. I want hands on back pockets up pretty high. Really hug the elbow tips toward each other to open up here and send the hips forward. Think like squeezing the glutes and opening up through the fronts of the hips. And continue circles just like this, sending the hips over to the back. You might even feel a little hamstring stretch whenever you send the hips back. See if you can soften through the pelvic floor. Begin to circle the other direction. And just notice where you're holding lines of tension in your body, in your hips, your legs, maybe your spine, your low back. Beautiful. We're going to do standing cat-cow, find center, just like we did yesterday, sitting, but this time standing. So gentle bend in the knees, just so you can really find that tilt of the tailbone out and a tuck under. This is a posterior tilt when you're flicking your tail out, and an anterior tilt when you're tucking it under in cat spine. So hands out. Goalpost arms. I like to say cactus arms because I'm not the biggest sports fan, I'm sorry to say. Inhale, cow spine, really reach the elbow tips back, flick the tailbone back. And then exhale, cat spine, bring the forearms towards each other. They don't have to come to touch, but just draw them towards one another. Really round and tuck, squeeze the glutes. Inhale, open it up. Exhale, close. One more of these. Inhale and exhale. Release, shake it out, roll out the shoulders. And a really important posture for pelvic floor health is the squat. And we're all going to be at different places in our squat, just depending on our activity choices, levels, age, all sorts of things, okay? So one thing, if you want to do this with a chair, take the knees nice and wide. The chair's behind you, so you feel nice and stable and you're not worried about falling over back behind you. But just start here with this wide stance. I like my toes slightly pointed out. Hands can be on your hips. Bending one leg at a time, think high skater. So bending over to the left, you can reach your hands out in front of you. Try to press down through the pinky edge side of this right foot, feeling a nice stretch in the inseam of that right leg. Send your hips all the way up, squeeze the glutes to open up through the front like in our hip circles, and then send it over to the right, bend into the right, Send the hips back, press through the pinky edge side of the other foot. Come on up, do a few each side. Feel the bend in the ankles, the bend in the knees, the hinge of the hips. Notice what you're feeling. Stay present in your body here. Let's do one more each side. To the left, press to the heel back up, squeeze the glutes. Weight to the right, press the heel up, squeeze the glutes. Awesome. That might be enough for you today, okay? And there's no shame in that. We all start somewhere, and we don't want you to get really sore, especially our pelvic floor. We don't want to fatigue those muscles because that can really exacerbate some of our symptoms. So gentle is the name of the game. So stay in your squat stance if you would like to continue. And this time we're going to sit in a squat. So send the hips back. Hands can come to thighs. Gently shift from side to side as you make your way down. And maybe that's just coming to the chair as slowly as you can. And then staying here. Hands can come into the inside of the thighs and gently press out. And try to relax and soften here. This is a great place to be. If you want to go a bit further, you might even place, if you have blocks or a stack of books or something you can stack, maybe it's an ottoman or something like that, a table that's maybe lower than a chair. Again, sending the toes out. The knees are going to track over the toes as you hinge at the hips. Send the hips back, and you can come down a little lower, maybe coming to that seat. It's okay if the hands, if it's hard to get inside of the legs, and just go ahead and see. And you want to make these holds longer. A squat is so good for our bodies. This is good for if you have incontinence problems or experience anything like that. This can be so helpful. Or if it's difficult for you to use the restroom, to have a bowel movement, this can be really helpful. So we want to increase our time to be able to be in a squat every day. It's good to come to this every day. And you'll find that you get more and more comfortable in this position. Your hips start opening up, and you start opening up through the pelvic floor so that it can do its job and pump blood and lymphatics properly. I would say that this is probably the best posture for pelvic floor health. There's a lot of postures, but this one is a biggie. So working on this at whatever pace that looks for you. You can also eventually remove anything from under you. You can kind of shift from side to side and find a sit this way. Hands can come down to help support. And you just want to hold, continue to breathe. Practice the breath exercise that we practiced in Pillar 2 and soften through the pelvic floor. Let it open wide. You can imagine a grape at the perineum, and the grape moves down the elevator on the inhale, and visualize on the exhale it moving up the elevator. Try to have a nice long spine here. Try to pull your chest through. And continue to breathe. Try to stay soft in the jaw. That's very important. Our jaw is connected to the pelvic floor, and if you soften the jaw, it makes it a lot easier to soften through the pelvic floor. Soften the shoulders. And I would take breaks to visit this throughout the day. Take a break before you cook dinner to do a squat. Whenever you have any sort of time available to do so. If you're watching TV, take a squat break. Very important. So anyway, I hope that this guide has been helpful to you, and I look forward to connecting with you further in the future. Thank you.